We all know that Dungeons and Dragons is great for getting together with some friends for some good old-fashioned monster killing, problem solving, and roleplay. But could there be a therapeutic utilization for Dungeons and Dragons and similar tabletop games? Well, let's find out. I'm joined today by Julia Stammen, who is a licensed professional counselor that utilizes Dungeons and Dragons to improve social skills and mental health. Thank you so much for joining me, Julia. I'm really excited about this interview.
Yeah, hi, it's good to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and jump into it. Could you just start by telling me a little bit about yourself and experience in counseling?
Yeah, so my name's Julia, as you said, licensed professional counselor in Austin, Texas. Currently telehealth due to COVID reasons only. And I have only had my actual private practice for a year. After all counselors graduate, we have to go through 3,000 hours of supervised internship.
That's a lot. That's a whole lot.
It's quite a lot, but it's for good reason. I really, really liked my supervisor, so it was all good. So I've been practicing counseling for 4 years, and then have my own business for almost coming up on a year.
Very cool. Well, congratulations on all of that. Could you just tell me a little bit about how Dungeons and Dragons works in a therapeutic setting? Like, what are the benefits? What are the applications that you've observed?
Absolutely. So the very first one is actually that you get all of the benefits of just normal group therapy as well. So that includes, sharing with others, similar others that are not trained professionals, right? Being able to kind of learn from each other, to challenge each other in group dynamics. So that includes some of the social skills that you named. So that's all there. That's a foundation of what makes a D&D therapy group part therapy. And then if anybody is kind of watching that's played Dungeons and Dragons before, it might not be too far off to say that it can be therapeutic sometimes, and some of the storytelling, the metaphors, the growth through characters, as well as some of the cathartic stuff like hitting monsters and defeating monsters and working together. And so all of those are just like already written into D&D. That's not something that as a therapeutic dungeon master I have to necessarily work at, which is pretty cool. There are a few of us around the world that are doing it, actually, even though it's still fairly new. It has quite a following now among the therapy community.
Awesome. So when you say therapeutic dungeon master, I would assume that when you're talking about D&D to improve mental health specifically, like how tailor-made is the campaign? Like, are there certain types of puzzles you like to pepper in there, or are you gearing towards specific types of interactions with the players?
Yeah, so I have started out by using a module that was written by other therapists, and it specifically targets anxiety and depression. It's called Gardens of Fog, and you can buy it. Anybody can buy it. And so the actual confrontations, to not give away any spoilers because it is something that I'm actively running, but the confrontations, the themes are around anxiety and depression. And so that can look like what the actual monsters look like, and it can look like how we write how they really write their characters. And, I just kind of help to facilitate what it is that their characters are wanting to work through, aka what do the people themselves want to work through. So everybody comes in, we talk about what individual goals that they want through the campaign. So it can be things like building confidence. It's a huge one. So it's like huge in my mind right now. I'm like, what else is there? There's a lot.
That's a big one, though.
But yeah, so social anxiety in the group, working on creating agency, setting boundaries, all kinds of individual goals that can come in, and then that's when I kind of veer off from the module and customize it depending on the group's needs and the individual's needs of like, yeah, how can we practice that through your character? Is there a specific skill that your character is really good at and nobody else is? And even like make it to where you can roll an extra d4 whenever you do that skill on top of being proficient in it.
Nice.
Just so that it's like very clear, like they go to you for that thing. And so that can kind of help build that sense of competence in a specific skill, which translates to confidence and being like, yeah, this is my thing. I got this.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. In character creation, do you have a hands-on approach with that? Like, okay, well, you're going to be the one who heals. You're going to be the one who does traps to kind of build on that.
Let's see. It's kind of organic at first. So there are options. I have some pre-built characters that people can choose from if the character creation part this is totally overwhelming for somebody. Mm-hmm. They can just go ahead and be like the stereotypical half-orc barbarian with an outlander background, say, cool. Which is one of my pre-built characters. But some people come in and they're like, the character creation is like my jam. It's what I want to focus on. I want to do that extra work, or I have that experience doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and take some time to do that. So I try to tell people I do like pre-group consultations where we just make sure it's a good fit for the group. And in that, I kind of get a feel for what kinds of classes they like to play, any expectations that they have for playing that class or flexibility there. And then I kind of say something like, to be flexible, that there may be somebody else who wants to be, druid just as bad as you do. So just kind of getting a check for that. And whenever we come together for the first time as a group, we talk it out. And so I try to make it so that there's only one class for the per party, if that makes sense. So,
that does, absolutely.
Only one cleric, one druid, etc. Well,
and you're starting with potential problem solving right out of the gate that way, because if they're the two people that are like, well, I want to be a druid, they have to learn to compromise early, and they're already building those social skills at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking up for what you want, mm-hmm. right? And compromise, and the kind of collaboration starts there too with what does this party look like? Why are they getting together and working together? Mm-hmm. So yeah, right from the get-go, it's like, boom, we're in it. There's lots to learn.
That's cool.
Let's see too. All right.
No, sorry. I was just gonna say, when you're dealing with all of these issues and you're trying to help somebody out with the social skills, it's good to have that session zero no matter what. But it seems like way more important for this type of setting and environment, and just communicating right out of the gate.
The session zeros that we have in a therapy group are like the session zeros that I want for myself in like my own casual games. I'm like, yes, we're like talking about it and like checking in with each other and like, what do you want? Like, well, like this is what I want. There's a lot of sensitivity, I guess, like not in a bad way, mm-hmm. of what's important for you to get out of this campaign. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say too that like part of what is a little bit different than maybe a casual game is that we spend a lot of time debriefing out of character. How was that session for you? What was going through your head? What did it feel like whenever your character did this? What did it feel like whenever that other person's character did that? So there's a lot of time to like process what happened in game at the end of our sessions.
I mean, you're basically doing like a counseling session right after and just talking about like, how did this make you feel? What can we do differently? And then you're not just making it based off of like a general group and you're like, okay, well, we're going to do some therapy. You're really gearing it towards the individual person. That's really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. I want to really make it custom to them, their goals, their needs, and what would make it meaningful. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what people take away from these experiences is that the stories that occur, and we, as just like human beings, use storytelling a lot to make sense of meaning and create meaning. And so if we can do that in a way that's safe because it's removed, because we're like, no, my character is doing this, I'm not doing that, you know, my character is dealing with like depression. It kind of creates that safety of being able to take risks within the game.
Absolutely.
But if you can take that and then like integrate it into your own life, that's where the magic happens.
Very cool. So I think maybe the debriefing would kind of cover this, but have you had sessions before where people just clashed, didn't get along, maybe it didn't work out the way you had intended?
Yeah, I mean, totally. As any DM or GM knows, exactly what you think they're going to do is, totally the opposite of what they end up doing.
Absolutely.
So staying on your toes and being spontaneous and being able to kind of like work through that is definitely part of what you see. It's no different than a casual game in that way.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about Heart of the Realm?
Yeah, Heart of the Realm is the name of my private practice, and so it's just me. It's just a solo practice, and I not only do D&D therapy groups, but I also mostly work with individual adult clients, and I call geeks, gamers, and misfits. So anybody who identifies as one of those, it could be really part of the work that we do and like the trouble that they're having with identity or any of those pieces of the culture there, or it could have nothing to do with why they're coming in, and it's just kind of happens to describe who they are, what they're interested in, and I take it either way. Just kind of follow their lead with that.
Awesome. Well, if there was somebody who wanted to get into D&D therapy or maybe just gear their own games a little more, their casual games, to like something that's just a little bit healthier or something that can help people out, would you give them any advice?
Yeah, so there are a lot of resources out there online that are helping people to get into D&D therapy if you happen to be like an aspiring counselor or a counselor that wants to do this. And then there's also some resources. I'm thinking of Psychology at the Table by Dr. Megan Cornell. She has these videos of like, what do you do to help support a friend who I think she covers depression and like ADHD maybe, or like learning disability with calculating math, and that's just like for your friends playing D&D.
Oh, cool.
So that's a really good resource.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm in a lot of D&D campaigns right now, so maybe I can check that out and apply some of the tips there. Just the social aspect, being able to play with people online, like during COVID especially, it is one of the things that got me through, where I would like look forward to the Monday night Strahd session, or like last night I was like all day I was like, oh, I'm gonna play D&D, you know, and yeah, it's not physical and the dice aren't tangible, but it gives me that sense of like connection and camaraderie. So I think this is especially important in these trying COVID times. What are some of the ways that you are integrating like precautions from COVID into Heart of the Realm?
Into my business practices?
Yeah. So you said that everything is like video conference. So okay.
I'm not even going into the office right now. It's 100% telehealth.
Telehealth. Okay.
It's pretty early on. So yeah, it's all done through video, or if somebody doesn't have access to a webcam, sometimes phone calls.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, this is awesome. This is great work. I was so excited about this interview, and I'm walking away just thrilled. Any quick shout outs, websites, Instagrams? I don't know. Anything you want to shout out?
Multiple Instagrams. Yeah, I am on social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's all at Julia Stammen, which is just my first and last name. And then my website is also www.juliastammen.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Julia. If I'm feeling down, I'm going to try to find me a pickup game, and it is very therapeutic for me, and hopefully it's therapeutic for you guys. If it's something you want to get into, we've got resources and links that you guys can check out. And thank you so much, Julia. I really, really appreciate this.
And thanks for having me.